Hi again then guys, and so we've got another X-Tunes Extreme Circuit setup for you today, and for any who are perhaps new to this series, basically what we do in X-Tunes is we take a vehicle with a lot of potential, usually a premium model, but not necessarily always, and then we take it to the absolute limit of PP, power and weight that it can take. Not so much for pure straight line speed, but more as a track weapon. And in this particular pick we are building, as you can see, an SLS AMG to X-Tunes spec. 670 pp is its nearest rounded off point. Now I've gone for racing soft tyres, obviously that's down to personal preference. For suspension we've lowered the ride height to 70, front and rear. Springs have increased to 975 and 1225. The dampers to 5, anti-roll we've left on 3. To be honest, you can take those a little bit lower if you want to. Neutral camber and tow. We'll come back to the gearbox last. For our diff, I've gone for a slightly different setup to what I'd usually have. The highest initial torque and lowest acceleration and braking. And the reason why I've done that is because this car tends to go quite quickly from being tail happy to extremely heavy. And I prefer my cars to be heavier. So the initial torque has a massive difference on changing how this car handles. So if you lower it down to say 50 or 40 etc, it will become looser, but it will also become more drift happy, more tail happy. So be careful with that, because obviously you're putting 880 horsepower down. As far as that power, you want all your power upgrades of course, plus I would recommend an oil change. We are also running, as with all of these X-Tunes that can have it, a flat floor to increase the PP. I have also fitted a rear wing, a custom wing, and increased the downforce as high as possible, and of course you want the full weight loss package. Finally, for the gearbox, as with all of these, it's not a top speed tune, so we've got an auto setting of 230, then for the individual gears 3.8, 2550, 1875, 1475, 1.2, 1 and 845, and a final drive of 3.1. So that's it overall for the build of the car. Now let's take it out to, of course, the Nuremberg Ring. What better place to prove an AMG Mercedes to see how it handles. Now, as I mentioned with this car, the handling tends to switch from being pretty tail happy to ultra heavy, and it does need to be noted that the handling on this car is among the heaviest of my X-Tunes build, which is kind of surprising I think, considering that the car is usually known for being quite fun, quite tail happy, and generally more geared towards fun rather than pure lap times. This car though feels the exact opposite. It's very heavy, very grippy, almost like a GT3 or GT2 car. So if you do decide to build an SLS to this spec, you do need to be prepared for how heavy the steering is. Obviously you can adjust your diff primarily, as I mentioned earlier, to adjust that, but it's always there to some degree, that heaviness to the steering. Overall, it's an extremely fast car. The top speed's not necessarily as high as some of the others in the series, because this car isn't as quick anyway, plus we've given it the flat floor which lowers the top speed even more, but it is still an extremely fast vehicle, and as far as sub-supercars go, it is one of the quickest you can get. So if you do decide to use this X-Tunes build for your SLS, obviously I hope you find it fun and competitive in racing, and if you'd like to keep up with other X-Tunes like this in the future, be sure to hit subscribe down below for those. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.